Lethal hits. Devastating wounds. You love these rules on your weapons, but these are not the rules I'm talking about. Those are for combat and attacks. This is no mere weapon. It is better than a weapon. It transcends weapons. It is so powerful, it has no true name, but it is known by many names. For the Dark Gods, Shock Troops, Defenders of the Faith, a plan generations in the making. You may know it as sticky objectives. You seem surprised that I consider this so highly. Well, this ability has won me 2 games and lost me a game, as I will explain. You need to know, my dear faithful of the Sororitas and the Four-Armed Emperor, that Sisters of Battle and Neophytes have swapped their index abilities for this supreme ability. So I wanted to learn how to use it well, so I was prepared for the Codex launch. Let me tell you the ways that sticky objectives win games. Let me read you the rule first. I think they're all the same, so you can bear it in mind. At the end of your command phase, if this unit is within range of an objective marker you control, that objective marker remains under your control, even if you have no models in range of it, until your opponent controls it at the start or end of any turn. Turn, not phase. Something that a lot of people miss. So how does this win you the game? Come closer. Okay, that'll do, that's close enough. In 10th edition of Warhammer 40,000, you win the game by having the most victory points. You can get the most victory points from the primary missions. All of the primary missions require you to control objectives. Sticky objectives means you control objectives. And doing it en masse is what works best. So load up on Neophytes, on Battle Sisters, and in this first example, Chaos Cultists. I was using the Alpha Legion style Deceptors detachment, which lets you have 3 cultist units infiltrate at 2,000 points, and also 3 legionary units. So I deployed in the midboard, on the midboard objectives. My objectives. In my command phase, those become sticky objectives because of For the Dark Gods. There were 3 objectives in the midboard, there are 3 Chaos Cultist units infiltrating. Why, what a coincidence. Then, I move the cultists forward off the objective, which remains under my control, so they can stand 5 inches from the aura of the objective. This means that enemies that charge the cultists won't be in range to consolidate onto the objective. Sure, they killed the cultists, but it's still my objective. I win. A bit later on in the game, the enemy marines charge my possessed who were near to another objective that cultists had touched in my command phase. You know, my objective. The player used shenanigan moves from tournaments to touch the objective but legally, technically still complete the charge. It was the end of the phase. They have objective control 1, I have nothing on that objective. It's still my objective because it's not the end of the turn or start of a player turn. My possessed killed most of the marines and consolidated so I could get 1 possessed into the objective range. Objective control 1 versus objective control 1. It is still my objective at the start of my turn to score because the enemy did not control it at the start or end of a turn. So to put it another way so that Chaos Space Marine players can understand better, if you want my objective, you have to take it. You can't warp Talon away before the turn is over. Stick around and fight me. Otherwise you lose. Next game. I'm using Deathwatch, the Vanguard detachment, which is all sneaky for people who wear black armor. It's sort of suitable for the Deathwatch. It has a stratagem that makes an objective sticky and also plants a bomb on it. So it comes in stratagem form too, not just unit abilities. So you can dislike the Primaris Intercessors and still get this ability. I had a very small elite army, so now I was able to walk away from objectives and it stays under my control. Don't you just hate having to babysit objectives? You have taken them from the enemy has nothing to take it back. You got it, it's yours, but that unit that you used now has to sit there for the rest of the game and can't use all of their cool killing abilities. Unless you can sticky that objective. That's what the cheap troops are for. They can follow behind the super elite Terminators, and then the Terminators and the Chaff unit that has this sticky objective rule can both keep moving onto the next objective. What you often get is enemies that deep strike who are able to eliminate Chaff units you keep on home objectives. Now, they deep strike but you don't have a unit there. You don't lose a unit, and what happened still happens. They still take the objective. If the enemy deep striking unit is expensive, so not 5 Acolytes, though they could be considered expensive for their profile, but something like 5 Terminators, they took the objective, but it is now so deflating. They can't do anything else because of their slow speed, and that Terminator unit now has to sit on that objective for the rest of the game. Because in the Leviathan mission deck capture enemy outpost is 8 victory points, I know you may counsel me against this, but it's only a bad idea if the enemy is lucky and draws capture enemy outpost while I still have units to deep strike. It can be very dependent on the enemy army. So to continue the Deathwatch mission story, I had an objective in the midboard and I planted a bomb on it. In comes the Hypercrypt Legion and their teleporting troops. So Immortals drop onto the objective. Okay, they avoid the tripwires by coming from reserve, so no D3 mortal wounds. They shot at my Deathwatch veterans but didn't kill them all. For their secondary objective, they needed to kill them all. Now my opponent was not stupid, they could count. They remembered to count, so they have decent memory as well. They knew that the secondary objective was fewer points than the points I would score from primaries at the start of my next turn. They knew that. But trading, unit trading. If they held onto the objective, my few remaining veterans could come in and kill those Immortals, and it would switch back to me and the Immortals would be dead. Or the Immortals would go on their 9-inch charge and would probably kill the last veterans. They did, and they did, but the objective was still mine. I still got those victory points at the start of my next turn. I wasn't able to do anything more with the Eliminators as they ended up fighting the Immortals. That definitely sucked for me. The Necrons made the logical, rational choice. The bomb planted on the objective doesn't care. Logic doesn't come into it. The objective was still mine, and I won the game by 2 victory points. If not for the sticky objectives, there would be another tomb complex rising to harass the Imperium. So that's the 2 games I won. Now the game I lost to sticky objectives. I was playing against Death Guard. They have a rule that lets them have sticky objectives unlike everything. You can't just shoot the enemy away. You have to go close to them, kill them in combat to take the objective from them. Ideally, in any situation you would want to take the objective which also denies the enemy the objective, but if you shoot them away normally, in most games, that is enough to deny the enemy that objective. Against Death Guard, you have to charge them and kill them. And they love it when you get into close range where their contagions take effect. Plague zombies are a pain to get out of objectives, and they were using a horde of lots of small units, many plague marines, and as many units of poxwalkers as they could take. That is a tactic I suggested. But I wasn't going to let on in the game who I was or that I recognized the video that was there, face up on their phone with that red YouTube bar at the end. So Ron Larmian just had to watch as the smelly player and their sticky objectives used multiple small unit tactics to win with Death Guard. And poor Ron Larmian ran out of units chasing them around, and all of the time they were scoring the primary mission, the most valuable of the missions. So what am I planning for Sisters and Genestealer Cult? So, Genestealer Cult. Pure strains in the front to hold the enemy back. They can charge into the enemy's deployment zone and pin them there. Neophytes deep strike onto the middle objectives and the rest of the army pushes up. That home objective is also sticky from the first turn Neophytes, so those Neophytes jump into a truck and move up. The objective is sticky, the board is sticky, I am perfectly clean, do not be disgusting. The Genestealer cultists go in waves, coming back through cult ambush, maybe. If they die and they move up as well, the line moves forward. And either the enemy has the weapons and the training to fire 3 rounds a minute to stop the advance and then move up to take the objectives, or we win. Genestealer cult players have been relying on demo charges and neophytes for victory. We can still rely on neophytes. The sisters are more difficult as we want to be on objectives continually to generate miracle dice. I hadn't seen that we can still generate miracle dice, but through the simulacrum rather than the defenders of the faith. I'll explain in a future video how those abilities are switched. For them, I just plan to have some battle sisters. They can hold the objectives while the other parts of the army are killing things. Or I can go for a much more mechanized sisters list. Sisters can sticky the objectives, then get into transports, and then we all move up and we all shoot the enemy and we all get out, and it's the bringers with a flame detachment. That has stratagems all about sisters in vehicles. So there's your choice of videos to check out next. My darlings and viewers, I'll see you again soon. Have a great day of 40k.